Let's get opinions now from the head of publicaddress.net, the hard news blog over there, and also the Media 7 show on TVNZ7. Of course, it's Russell Brown. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, while everyone's, of course, distracted with the World Cup and all the dazzling things that are going on there, the government, meanwhile, shoving a whole lot of stuff through urgency.
Yeah, yet again, they don't really have a great deal of respect for constitutional niceties, this government. And it does rather make you wish we did have a constitution, so they couldn't do this quite so easily. But you'll, of course, be aware that most of the Uruwera 17, so-called, were discharged after a Supreme Court decision that found that the police had illegally gathered the video surveillance evidence they were going to present, and it could not be used, although it can be used in four more serious charges. And it turns out that the police knew that they were gathering the evidence illegally, that the law did not permit this, the search warrants they'd gained did not permit this, and they went ahead and did it anyway. So
is it actually written in law that they couldn't do it, or was there a case previously that had already been seen by a judge and
it's
said
more
they
that
couldn't
the
do
law
it?
doesn't allow for it.
Okay.
It doesn't positively offer the right. And this has been the case for a very long time. It's not like something that the last government did. And there has been an awareness that that this does need fixing, which is what the search and surveillance bill that's plodding through Parliament is all about. The search and surveillance bill's been there for at least a year, I think, trying to get through the process. And National and Labour have not been able to agree on exactly how it should look.
Yeah.
And Labour actually approached the government last year and said, look, if you make these 4 changes to protect civil liberties, we will support the bill and it can go through.
Yeah.
National rejected those, so that's stuck. And now we find ourselves in the bizarre situation where the government is saying, we are going to overrule a Supreme Court decision, or basically change the law to invalidate a Supreme Court decision under urgency. There will be no select committee. No one can say anything about it. And as Toby Manhire on the Listener website has done a good job of collecting the thoughts of every angry legal blogger in the country, I think anyone who has some respect for the law and knowledge of it seems to be up in arms this week.
Yeah.
It is bizarre. And you have to say, again, National are abusing urgency, but also, again, the police are not covering themselves in glory. Because basically they've blown, apart from anything else, they've blown this particular case, which they put enormous resources into. And they've also made themselves look a bit devious and silly. And, it's not the first time this year. I have to say, I don't know whether you saw the original police press release about the charges in the fake pilot case.
No, I didn't.
Well, it was. I actually thought that it read like satire because the senior officer who gave the statements paid fulsome tribute to the tireless investigative work of his team and the multiple agencies who cooperated on this investigation. I thought, that sounds like it was quite serious.
Yeah. Didn't the dudes just walk up to the police station and hand themselves in?
Indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
My understanding is that's exactly what happened. They called the police 4 times on the phone.
Yeah.
12 hours after their original call, someone thought to call back.
Yeah.
And it was still another 4 hours of furious media speculation about possible terrorism plots or something, when the police knew that it was a rather silly TV stunt.
Yeah.
And they allowed this to happen. And then they put out this ridiculous press release that quite clearly cannot be true.
Yeah, and basically all they really did was put a very grainy security camera photo in the paper for everyone to see, so the guys were obviously going to hand themselves in.
Yeah, but I think they may have even actually contacted the police before that.
Right, okay.
So, by the time the story broke,
crazy,
these guys were trying to get the police to check their answer phone.
Hey,
no new messages, really.
Just getting back to this urgency side of things, of course, John Key has the public on his side because all he needs to do, and he has done this, is stand up and say, well, I think Kiwi mums and dads would hate to see these people get off in the future. And really, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly that. Yeah, if you're not with us in doing this, then clearly you're on the side of the pea dealers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it is. Oh, I rather suspect that Chris Finlayson, the Attorney General, is really, biting his tongue when he has to front for this, because of any of them, I think he's the one who would understand how constitutionally inappropriate this is.
Okay, but constitutionally inappropriate, but how do you rebut that argument, though, that if you're doing nothing wrong, then you have nothing to be worried about?
Because the law matters, and if we're going to respect the law, then the law has to be treated with respect. And it doesn't even appear that that actually taking some time and doing it properly would particularly affect any of the ongoing investigations that the police have, because, as happened in the Urawera case, judges are free to use the Evidence Act and declare that this evidence may not have been properly gathered, but it is of such import and the offence is so serious that it will be allowed. That's already happened in this case. And so, it's hard to see that any of the current investigations will be overturned unless they're about very trivial matters, which they clearly aren't.
Yeah.
So, it's not like this is going to see criminals walk free. And I think we do have the time to actually make this sort of change properly. I mean, this is a Supreme Court ruling. So it's somewhat appalling, frankly.
Okay, so if the media aren't effectively reporting on this, are they effectively reporting on the other stuff that they are concentrating on, that being the Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, well, actually, just to point, I think the media actually are taking this pretty seriously. If you look at the
but it wasn't
stinging editorial, and I suppose.
What about the TV news?
TV news. What are we going to do about TV news?
I mean, the TV news the other night was about a drunk rugby player. Couldn't care less.
Yeah.
And this actually broke on that day, and it was something like 2 or 3 stories down.
Yeah, of course, and this has happened repeatedly in the last week or so. It's alarming, frankly. But I must say, all due credit to the New Zealand Herald, which has a stinging editorial this morning.
Okay.
But yeah, we're actually looking at Rugby World Cup coverage on Media 7 this week. We've got a great panel. Finlay McDonald, Tracy Nelson, who is an incredibly interesting person. She's a bug scientist who has become a rugby statistician, and she's doing a feature in the Herald every week called The Stats Don't Lie.
Yeah.
And Greg McGee, author of Foreskins Lament and All Black Trialist, and also correspondent for Le Monde, a newspaper in France.
Oh, okay.
For the Rugby World Cup. So I'm quite looking forward to that. I think that'll be a good discussion, and we've got a nice long amount of time to talk, so that should be quite funny.
Great. And you've just announced on the Hard News blog the Chimney book.
Yes. For our last Great Blend Live event, I asked a friend of mine called Blair Parks in Christchurch to work up something for us, and he came up with something called Chimney Book, which is quite a complex little project in a way, because it's based on a new typeface that he created by picking up all the individual bricks of his chimney, which was in New Brighton, which was ruined in the February aftershocks, painting characters on them, photographing them, scanning them in, and cleaning them up so they could be used as a typeface, which we actually did, and it branded the whole event. But the end work is a video and music work called Chimney Book that we showed on the night. People cried in the room. It's a really, really moving piece of work, and Blair and I decided that it should be somewhere special, so I approached NZ On Screen, with whom I have some involvement, and said, "Do you want this?" And they said yes, and it's just been published, and if you pop along to publicaddress.net and click the link, you'll be able to see it.
Cool.
And I think it's amazing.
Do that and check it out. Thanks very much, Russell.
Jolly good.
Cheers.
See ya.
Russell Brown over at publicaddress.net and the Media 7 show, TVNZ 7. Good track now from